Sweet, sweet.
Anthony, what do you think about this game?
Well, Reidsville, on paper they look really, really good. They've outscored Lincoln in numbers over the year. But the big difference is in the points that they've allowed on defense.
Right.
There's a big disparity there between what Lincoln's allowed and what Reidsville's allowed. Now, you got to take into consideration that by most accounts, Reidsville played a weaker schedule. So, therefore, more than likely, you're going to have fewer points scored on you when you're playing lesser caliber teams. We were talking offline a while ago, and the big question mark, if there is one, for Lincolnton was the maiden game and the last game of the season. We kicked around and I told you why, shared with you why I thought that Lincoln probably lost that game, and mainly it was because the conference race had been decided no matter who won or who lost that week. And then, by the way, no matter who won or lost between West Caldwell and East Lincoln, did not matter either. It was not going to change the outcome of the conference race whatsoever. So last week was really just a week that had to play, because it wasn't going to change anything as far as who won the conference, who was in first place, second place, third place, or fourth place. And so Lincoln winning, I think Lincoln, and we were talking a while ago, the thing you don't understand, or the thing that we don't realize sometimes, is we don't know what's going on in the head of a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
Some of them, they got girlfriends, and they got maybe term paper coming up, and all these other things. And I think that they just took the game too lightly.
Right.
But after they got behind, whenever they were playing Maiden, they found themselves in a hole that they could not dig themselves out of because they had dug themselves too deep of a hole to get out of. Now, that may come into play whenever they play Reidsville, because one thing that their coach has been saying in newspaper interviews here lately in the Gastonia Gazette was that the on-again, off-again attitude of the defense. They play really, really well for the first half, and then it seems like they have a lapse in the second half. Usually in the third quarter, the team will start coming back on them, and then they'll stretch it back out. But see, in the Maiden game, they was playing from behind the whole game because Maiden scored first. Matter of fact, I think Maiden got out 2 touchdowns ahead on them. I'm not sure about that, but I know that Maiden scored first.
Right.
And they were always playing from behind, never could get ahead. And so maybe that will come into play this week against Reidsville whenever the defense, they can't take any series off. They're going to have to stay focused the whole game. Otherwise, they'll find themselves playing behind eight ball, playing from behind again this coming week.
Right.
And so that's going to be, I think, this Friday night, the big test for Lincoln against Reidsville. Will their defense show up to play an entire game? If they do, I think they'll have a good shot at beating Reidsville. But if they don't, it might be a long night for Lincoln.
Yeah, what we looked at when we looked at statistics is that Reidsville gets out quick in their ball games. And while it looks like, Lincoln doesn't do too bad, around 27 points in the first half, which for most teams that would be great. Reidsville's doing that almost in the first quarter, 25 I think it was. So if Lincolnton gets into that hole early in the ball game, and it looks like the potential could be that they could get in, to a 2-touchdown deficit as early as late first quarter or early second quarter is kind of what, just looking at how both teams score, etc. How's that going to play out? And then if that defense does have a tough time coming out in the second half, and sometimes kids have a hard time coming out of the locker room and getting re-geared back up for the game, and it might take them just a little bit to get back into the whole flow of things. If that happens, no shot. They're going to have to play. I think Lincoln is going to have to play quarter to quarter, down to down. They're going to have to play their best football to win this ball game.
I do agree with you on one thing. I think if either one of these teams gets down by more than 2 touchdowns, I think it's lights out for that team.
Right.
I'm not sure if anybody can come back from a 2-touchdown deficit. Reidsville probably has a better chance of doing it than Lincolnton does.
For me, 2 touchdowns is the borderline.
Yeah.
If you get to 3, it's over. I think it's very, very hard to come back from 3 scores. 2 scores, depending on where you're at in the ball game, you could do it. But you get down 2 scores in the first half, you could maybe make up those 2 scores in the second half. You play great defense. But if you're 2 scores down in the third quarter, going into the fourth, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because you got to figure that other team's going to get the ball sooner or later too.
Exactly. Because you score, you got to kick it to them.
Right.
Unless you get very lucky in the onside kick and get the kick, which so I don't know. There's the potential this could be a good ball game, but there's also the potential this could not be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll be a good ball game. I don't see either team winning by more than 2 touchdowns.
Right. It won't reach blowout. Blowout for me is 21 points. So.
But I think Lincoln's got a good chance to win it. Mainly, and the reason I say that is because of Lincoln's strength of schedule, superior strength of schedule compared to Reidsville's. But again, the question mark is what happened in that last game.
What happened in that maiden game? Exactly.
The last regular season game.
Yeah, you can't have letdowns like that because even though you had the conference won, now you're sitting there. Just in case any of you kids are watching, and that was the case. Now you're sitting there going on the road to play a playoff game. Right. When had you won that ball game, you might be playing at home. They'd have had to go through the tiebreakers. Right. But by you losing it, you got no shot at it. So it's always important to win your ball games, no matter whether you have a conference sealed up and it's gift wrapped it and there it is. You still got to go out and win that next ball game. Okay, well, thanks for watching. It is so hard. I'm going to tell you, Anthony, when my son was a senior,
some joy memories are made of this. The memories you gave me. Don't